What it do, KTTeeV? This is KT, and I'm coming at you live with another episode of the Daily K Podcast. Today's episode, we have Mr. Lawrence Allen, a member of the State Board of Education, Director of Special Projects in HISD, and District 26 candidate for the State House of Representatives. How you doing today, Mr. Allen?
I'm doing fantastic, Brother Thomas, and if you don't mind, let me just simply say thank you for the invitation and having an opportunity to speak with your audience. I truly appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Well, I thank you for coming on, as I know the schedule and the magnitude of the campaign, so I appreciate you for taking a little time out for us today.
Thank you, sir.
Like I said, he already came in today dropping jewels, and I almost changed my life a few minutes ago, so I think we're going to have a good time today, y'all. All right, so I guess we'll jump right into it. So giving the audience a little bit about yourself, your background, and what led you to the decision to run for representative.
Well, I think that's a good question. I think my background would be what has prepared me to go forward to this point. And certainly, I think the key to everything is what's your educational background. And I finished high school in the Houston Independent School District, Jesse H. Jones High School, class of 1980. Good class with class. And then I matriculated on to Prairie View A&M University, where I received my bachelor's degree in industrial education in 1984. Yes, I stayed and worked for the university for one additional year to get a master's degree, and so I started my teaching career after that point in HISD in 1985. I was a substitute from 84 to 85 while I was in grad school, and then I got a contract position in 1985. And then I went on back to school and started working on a second master's while I was teaching and coaching. I was at Lanier Middle School for about 6 years, and then I transitioned to Dick Dowling. It was like Lean On Me, actually. It was going from one experience to another. But that second experience led to a question that was asked of me by my principal: will you help us in the office for a few weeks while we find an assistant principal? And I certainly agreed to do it, but it gave me a desire to want to be an administrator. And so I then served as the interim assistant principal on that campus for 2 years. And when that time was up, I went on to Jones High School, which was the highlight to me in my career. I was back at Jones High School as the assistant principal.
Yes, sir.
I was serving under Mr. Arthur L. Pace, who was my principal when I was a student there. So I saw that as a tremendous honor that he would hire one of his former students to be his assistant principal. So I served with zeal. I wanted to make him proud of me, and so he then decided he wanted a promotion, so he left me 6 months. 6 months after I got there, and so I served as assistant principal for 3 years, and then they asked if I would go to Jack Yates High School and serve under Mr. Choice, Lloyd Choice was the principal at that time, to prepare for the principalship somewhere in HISD. So I did that for 2 years, and then the position at Jones came open, and I was able to return to Jones as the principal, which was my alma mater. Now you can imagine, 20 years after you finish high school, you're back at your 20-year class reunion as the principal of the high school you graduated from. What a joy. I thought that was it. I was going nowhere else. I was where I wanted to be, and I would stay there until they said, job well done. It's time to go. My mother, who is a state representative as well, Dr. Alma Allen, decided that she was going to run for the House of Representatives, and she asked if I would consider running for the seat that she was leaving on the State Board of Education. All I wanted to do was consider it. I was doing what I wanted to do at Jones, but my mother asked, and so I said, okay, let's do this. And so I ended up being elected to the State Board of Education, which called for me to be in Austin 5 times a year. And you may know Houston as well as I do. South Park and Jones is a difficult school, and you need to be there every day. You need to be in position to set the tone every day. So it was a little difficult for me to be in Austin and not worry about what was going on the campus. And so I knew that I needed to do something different, and I was going to be effective at one but not both. And since I was an elected official, they asked if I would come to central administration and then support the superintendent and have some flexibility and freedom to do the things I needed to do at the state level. And so I accepted that, and I moved into the Director of Special Projects position at HISD. And so I've been on the State Board of Education now for 16 years. This is my 16th year. This is my 36th year in the Houston Independent School District, and I've already submitted my paperwork for retirement this February because I intend to serve in the state legislature and as a representative of my district full time.
Yes.
Full time. I intend to serve full time, and so that's where we are today.
Okay, and that wow, man, awesome story.
Yes, sir.
It's awesome how the evolution, you know, from your first school and you being a student and then coming back for the 20 years. So, man, awesome. And so as we talk about moving into the district, District 26, I guess the question would be, how do you plan on improving just the lives? Because I know, like I said, we talked about the area we're in. And so then how do you plan to just improve the lives of those citizens?
Well, I truly believe that all improvement comes through education. Yes. I think the quality of your civilization is determined by the quality of the education that the citizens receive. And that's not just in the formative years in terms of pre-K through 12, but what are the college opportunities? What's there in the when our citizens are incarcerated? What are the educational opportunities that are afforded to them that they might be better on their return? How does one go before his community and begin to educate them of the political process and where they can get involved? So when I say the word education, I'm not just talking classroom, but I'm talking about the imparting of information to the citizens where better decisions can be made. Yes. And not only trying to make decisions, but working with the other elected entities, whether it be county, city, to get things done and it's more effective for that community. You will find that District 26 is probably considered one of the most diverse areas in the state of Texas, and so that lends itself for us to have a number of ideas about how things can be most effective. And we're talking about a district now that's about 50% Democrat, 50% Republican. Okay. So the day that you are elected, 50% of the people, or 49%, probably did not vote for you. And so you have the chore now of winning their confidence that they do have a representative that they didn't vote for, maybe because they're in the other party, but they're not another person. See, we're still neighbors, even if we're not in the same party. So we have to find our common agreement, and then we have to move forward. But what you have to do is represent, and that means listen to the constituents about the things that they believe would benefit their community, but also remind them that every decision that you make represents every Texan. Okay.
And so with talking about the representation, so how do you involve those stakeholders into the decision-making process?
Well, during the sessions, in the legislative sessions, there are about 3,000 bills that are introduced. And so they come up through various ways. So let's start saying my number one priority is education. So you're going to meet with your school board representatives in Rosenberg, Lamar Consolidated. You're going to meet with your school board members in Fort Bend ISD, and you're going to meet with your school board members in Stafford ISD, and they're going to have some of their legislative objectives put forward. Not only they're going to do it, then historically good, bad, or whatever, you got just the 1, just the 2, just the 3, just the 4 in the Sugar Land, Richmond area, and there are going to be concerns by those officers, those who lead those institutions, and they will bring forth their legislative priorities and things that they would like to see in order to improve the criminal justice system there in that particular area. Not only will you get those meetings, you'll have others who will say, hey, this is an energy company, this is quality, air quality for our community. Because you have to consistently think about what we have agreement on. One, we want to make sure our senior citizens are well taken care of. I don't think that's a party issue. I think everybody wants to make sure that the senior citizens are well taken care of. So as I've traveled District 26, I've noticed a larger number of senior living, ability for seniors to have some quality of life. And so that's number one with me, as my wife and I are caring for our aunt, and she's in Clayton Oaks Assisted Living. And you want to make sure that that time in life is enjoyable for our senior citizens. So whatever we can do at the state level, we want to do it, or we want to introduce it, and we want to battle for it. At the same time, I have a brother-in-law living with me who is visually impaired. And I've had a chance to witness how difficult it is to get services for individuals with disabilities.
Yes,
and I guess now I'm saying I want to champion some of the causes that I had a chance to meet with a delegation from that part of our community.
Yes.
And when things don't touch you, you may not really know how important it is.
Yes, sir.
So I'm very interested in those two areas in that community. How do we deal with our senior citizens?
Yes.
How are we servicing those with disabilities? And what is the quality of education in the districts and in the state? And those things that we see now that have been punitive with HISD, they're not far from our doors either.
Okay.
So we need to make sure that those laws are dealt with. So if there ever is a time where we need to adjust our strategies, then we're giving the professional courtesy to do that locally and not be mandated on our moves at the state level.
Thank you. Okay, I
Yes,
understand that. And I do identify with the senior citizens and the assisted living situation, because you always want to keep that quality up, but it seems like it's almost forgotten in some places, or just not kept up the way it should. And so putting that as a priority is
Well, we have learned, again, they call it the sandwich generation. And again, I say to you, some things, somebody can talk to you about it all day long, but until you start caring for one, then you don't realize what the needs may be. Or when you see the cost in order to get quality care for your loved one. And then I start to reflect back on how many times I saw Big Mama and Mama Cat sitting on the porch, and the quality of care that they were receiving in their elder years was not good, even though we were saying, we love you.
Yes.
We love you, but you sit on the porch and you're not clean. We love you, but that's not what they deserve for all the sacrifice that they have they've gone through for us.
Yes.
So we have to make sure that we are financially fit, but at the same time that we never forget they are Texans, and that we can contribute to their well-being as well.
Yes. Okay. And so moving forward to living, how do you plan to address affordable housing, or as it goes for your district?
Well, let me talk to you, because affordable housing is one thing, and it may not be in the privy of the state legislature.
Yes. Okay.
But quality living is. And so what do you need in affordable housing? What do you, when you even housing? What is in our privy is green space.
Yes.
How do we consistently produce green space, parks, bring the funding back to the district so that we can have areas where families can enjoy? Because one of the communities, members said to me that we want cricket fields. Okay. Now, Lawrence Allen grew up in Sunnyside. We had baseball, basketball, and track. So that's new for me. Yeah. But the residents in that area say we have nowhere to play cricket. We're playing cricket in the Kroger's parking lot, Mr. Allen. What can you do about that?
There we go.
So that's a conversation we'll have to have with the county. We'll have to have that with the city. We'll have to have that at the state level. But my objective is to bring the funding to the table so that it's harder to say no when money's at the table for an objective than and then you match it with other entities so that the citizens can have the green space that they need to enjoy and have a quality of life. Housing with no amenities is not good. Okay? Low income housing is normally found in places, but there are no amenities. There's no quality food, there's no quality entertainment, but you get a home at a discounted concept or rate or price, and yet you're in a desert. So in caring for all Texans, I'm gonna have that conversation about quality housing, but not just in District 26, because that question says wherever they are, where I've come from, Sunnyside, if it's going to be quality housing, well then we have to put the kind of quality grocery stores in those communities as well. And we have to talk with HEB, and we have to talk with Whole Foods, we have to talk with Randall's about the quality of food that belongs in this community. And maybe you're not making as much in that as the other community brings in, but what about the quality of life? That's education. That's education at the highest level. Okay? And so we have to even educate those who don't live in certain communities why it's important to service those communities. If you truly can.
So then that takes us back, and maybe you've already touched on it, but so thinking about the legislative role in K through 12 education, And so as you try to affect that part, and like I said, I know you say outside of the class, but what is the first place to start?
Well, as you know, I'm presently a member of the State Board of Education.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I've been on the State Board of Education for 16 years. This is my 16th year, and I truly believe that body has the number one responsibility for the quality of education, which is control of what students learn, the standards. The standards from pre-K through 12.
Yes.
Okay, but in every school, we're governed by law. We're governed by public school law, as you well know, as a practicing administrator. Yes, and sir. Those laws at times can hinder, and sometimes those laws can help. When I was a practicing assistant principal, we had several laws in the book, but we were writing tickets almost on a daily basis for students, and they were going through the court system, and it was just backing up the court system because parents couldn't go with these young juveniles, and it was a problem. Yes. But those are laws. So as we go through our laws, what are the laws that are hindering what we want to do, such as truancy laws? What is a better way to deal with truancy? What is a better way, okay,
yes.
to look at, right now we're saying every child is probably not going to go to college. You hear that now. And people accept that language. Yes. But that wasn't acceptable language 5 years ago. Yes. It was every child was going to go to college. They were going to take the 4x4. Yes. That was decided at the state legislature. So decisions about the rigor and expectation for learning, we can never take the focus off of having very high expectations and not allow that everybody's not going to college to be a route where individuals are not challenging themselves. Yes. Because if you're not knowledgeable of opportunities, you won't even know you could do it. Yeah. And most children only know about 3 or 4 professions. Yes. They know teacher, they know police officer, they know fireman, they know doctor, they may know lawyer, they may know of the word. But you and I as adults know there are thousands of opportunities out there. But children from impoverished areas are not introduced to those things. So we can never prepare them for something less than the highest expectation, which is, to me, is to go on and get that college degree.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's why I'm so thankful for the career center that we just opened up.
Yes, yes.
And I mean, like I do a boys club, and so then it's been working with them. Well, can we get a field trip, or how can I get my boys over? For I may even take my dog or my car, but they have all of these, services, and so like I say, the usuals with your fire and your police, but to see this other side, we got kids who I even talked to them about my podcast and trying to get me set up with a new logo, yes. But just all those type of jobs, and like you say, that's so important.
It is important because every time we take a step higher in life, as you were fortunate enough to be tapped on the shoulder to become an assistant principal, yes, and it allows you to see what's at the next level. Yes, you can see what principal looks like, and you say, well, do I want to go there today? Maybe not today, maybe tomorrow, but I can see it. It's not as far away as it was when I was in the classroom. Yes. And so now that I can see it, I can make a determination. Well, what if you've never seen it? One day will come around and you'll say, I'm going to take that leap. Yeah. But it's really not a leap. It's just the next step. It's the next step of accountability and responsibility. Yes. It's not about comfort. Education and educating young people is not about being comfortable. Yes, sir. It's about doing what's necessary. And if you have the tools to make life better for somebody else, then we need you on that. We need you in that spot. We want you in that spot because there are thousands of children's lives that are going to be changed because you're there as their principal, setting a tone of expectation. And everybody's not going to go and become the mayor of a city. Yes. Some children will simply have a job, but they were motivated because they saw you every day, suit and tie, and they never even put on a suit and tie. But I want to be like Mr. Thomas. Yes. When I saw him. Yes. He said a kind word to me. I want to be like Mr. Thomas because he was here to open up the door this morning when I came in. I want to be like Mr. Thomas because in many communities, that's the only professional I've ever seen.
That's a true story, though. True story. A lot of the kids, I buy them ties and I give them shirts and we wear them every week.
Yes, sir.
So then we try to equate that to your feelings and just things like that. But for a lot of them, I don't have a dress shirt.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a tie. So just those basic things to where when we do career day, I had 2-3 kids that dressed up like that. That's what they wanted to be, was me for that day. You know, and so that all, you know, works in everything you're saying. Okay? And so then as we move forward, and let's say sometimes it's proactive, sometimes it's reactive, but talking about the community to police. And so is there any part of that you see working from your end?
Certainly,
Yes,
certainly. I don't think any of us want to live in a society where there's no form of security or some type of policing that if we understand it properly.
Yes,
okay, policing simply means to clean up. All right. When you police something, somebody says, "I need for you all to police this area." Well, when you police the area, it means clean up. So when the police are in your community, it's not about them actually being in a position to stop everything from happening. But they are in a position to come and start the cleanup process for what's going on in your community. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
Yes,
so the level of intellectual capital found in a community determines its safety.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
How one gets involved with the police in their community determines how well we work together to keep our community safe. If a person is in a community where they know that the information needed to deter crime is going to be expressed in that community, that's probably not an area where a criminal wants to be, because the people in that community are going to point me out. They're going to say if he was here yesterday. They're going to get involved, and so it takes the light off an individual who is supposed to clean it up.
Yes.
Now has a responsibility of being the enemy to the community versus a support system to the community. So we would constantly look at the professional development aspect of the policing in a Sugar Land and in Richmond. Why? Because the community is so diverse. And we don't want anybody under the illusion that they were being treated in a racial manner.
Yes.
Okay? What are the things that our police departments can do to understand that there are Hindus, there are Muslims, there are Christians, there are Jews, there are Sikhs, there are others here who are from Africa, from India, from Pakistan, and they see this policing different from the vantage points of their matriculation.
Yes.
And so it requires in our agencies that we allow individuals who can come before our policing bodies, express the needs of the community, talk about some of the cultural norms of the community, so that when we are then policing and adding value to the community, we're not offensive. See, as a young black youth, you grow up with a fear of the police because you don't have a relationship with the police. Now, in Sugar Land, I would say that's a little different. We're seeking to have a relationship with those entities that patrol the areas. Quite naturally, it's an affluent area, so some communities have private security for their areas, which is great. A lot of the areas are behind gated walls. And that's not necessarily to say it's fear. It's just a quality of life. HOAs, homeowners association. So it may be a little different than where I grew up at, but the same principle applies. Are we partners or are we enemies? And so as long as we are partnering and speaking to each other back and forth, there's no problem with the police agencies.
I'm with that, and I totally agree. You know, that's just one thing we believe over in the Alien, though. Relationships over everything.
Yes, sir.
If we start there, we'll take it from there. Okay, I think that'll just wrap it up. So before we go, can you just talk right there? Just talk about the campaign and just what's the next step?
Well, first of all, I know my wife did not want to be on film today, but I want to thank her for coming with me, and because she's my accountability partner. Quite naturally, you see, she's my prayer warrior, and in that, we are in this together.
Yes, sir.
She's also running.
Yes, sir.
And what that means is that we are running.
Yes.
Because when you are a state representative, you are in Austin 6 months a year, every other year. And so every other year for the next 10 years of my life, I intend to spend it in Austin, Texas. You've got to be on one accord with your mate with that. We certainly realize that we want to keep a spiritual foundation and a base. So if I had any struggles in the campaign, I apologize now. I don't believe in just passing through church saying hi and going by. So I want to treat the house of God with the utmost respect as we go through. I want to be able to articulate to the citizens in that area a clear message that I'm sincere about what I do.
Yes, sir.
I'm prepared to do it, and that I can deliver what I say I'm going to deliver. But I want to be extremely honest as we go that way. Most times, honesty will not win an election. Someone told me a long time ago, tell the people what they want to hear, and then once you get in, do what you can do. No, I don't believe in that. I'm going to tell you what I believe I can do, and I realize today, at the age of 58, that I've still got a lot to learn. And so as I stay open to the community, as I realize that I'll be dealing with educational issues, because that's my passion, I know other things are going to come up. As I'm dealing with those issues that will assist our seniors and those with disabilities, that's just the icing on the cake for me. There are a lot of things that I'll need to deal with and learn about health care and whether it be automotive with laws, and a lot of things will come up that I'll need to learn about. But that comes with having a good staff and having the trust of the people where they can say, hey, let's invite Lawrence in and let's talk to him about some things. And that's what I call education. That's what I call education. And I think that brain thrust and human capital is in the Sugar Land and Richmond area. That at whatever I'm faced, that there could be a committee established around those issues that can act as advisors to me, whether they be Republican or Democrat. They're residents of District 26, and they're giving me their best advice. And my experience as being a principal and a central office administrator, I still know the buck stops with me. It's not with the advisor, it's with the decision maker.
Yes, sir. That's what it said. All right. Well, I want to thank you for coming and talking to us today. We appreciate the knowledge you imparted on us. I'm really going to think about that, like you say, just that next step. It's not a leap.
If you want me to call HD, I will.
Hey, you don't never call me. That'll be the first step. That'll be it. But other than that, I appreciate it, Thomas.
Thank you so much.
For the time today.
And God bless you. Man.
All right. That will do it. This is KT for KTTeeV signing out. 100.